Have you ever had to put together a presentation and perhaps it could be a webinar, it could be a presentation from a stage, it could be a Toastmasters presentation, and didn't really know where to start and how to convey the message of what you have to offer? Well, I've been there too, so I know what it feels like to be called to a stage or to have an opportunity to present and then have to put it together the night before. It takes a lot of work. Now I can put a presentation together in less than 20 minutes using the frameworks and some of the tools I'm going to share with you right now. So when you're giving a presentation, the first thing that you want to know is who the presentation is for, what problem this person has, and what type of solution they're looking for. So let's say you have a person who has thyroid issues, who's a mom, who's looking for a natural solution. That needs to come through in your webinar title or your presentation title. That pulls me in as an audience member, because if your title doesn't land, then guess what? They don't get to see your presentation because it didn't compel them enough, or they didn't feel like it was for them enough. So it's got to do those three things, okay? It's got to identify their problem, identify with them, and identify that you have a solution in a way that they want that problem solved, okay? So moms with thyroid disease who are looking for natural solutions is an example. Next is you want to have at least 3 case studies. Okay, you might just have one. If you only have time to present 2, then you want one case study to be somebody going to the promised land, and you want the second case study to be what we call a cautionary tale. Somebody who didn't take action, here's what happens when somebody doesn't take action. So if you can only present 1, you present a positive. If you can only present 2, you present a positive and a negative, somebody who didn't take action, a cautionary tale. And if you have opportunity to do 3, then you do 2 positive and 1 cautionary tale, okay? So that's the format that you want to have. When you tell these stories, when you tell these case studies, you're not getting into the specific details like, oh, their cholesterol went from this to this. You can do that if you want, but what you have to make sure that you do is you have to tell a story. So where were they before they met you? They have to know that. And when you describe that story, you have to be speaking to the person who's listening to your presentation. You have to create and paint a picture of that person whose story you're telling. And of course, you're telling the truth about this person, but you're emphasizing the parts of their story that are most likely to land with the people in the audience. So if she's a mom and you have moms in the audience, you want to make sure you emphasize that she's a mom. If she's a busy mom, right? If she's a single mom, emphasize that if that speaks to the people in your audience, okay? And it might speak to some of them or a portion of them. And of course, you can really connect heartstrings with everyone by emphasizing different parts of that person's story, okay? So you have to find that story where they were before and relate it back to your audience. Where are they now? So of course, you want to share the results that you were able to get for this person, but you also want to share how you got that result for them and what you did differently than what had been done in the past. So where were they when they started? Where are they now? How did you use a completely different approach to find a solution for them? Okay, because that's what's going to separate you from everything else that they've tried. And what can they do now that they couldn't do before or never dreamed of, right? Maybe they got a promotion. Maybe they went and climbed a mountain that they couldn't never imagine, or ran a half marathon that they never imagined that they would be able to do. Maybe they started walking again. They never imagined they'd be able to do that. Maybe they avoided a surgery, right? So think about what did they accomplish working with you that they never thought they could do. So now you're connecting with emotion, you're connecting with logic. You can show before and after pictures, you can show before and after blood work if you want, but just remember you're sharing what they can do now that they couldn't imagine doing before. Okay, what was their health issue stopping them from doing that they're able to do now? And make sure that lands with your audience. Next thing you need is a proprietary process. You need to make sure that you have a diagram that clearly illustrates through an infographic what it is that you do, how you do it, why it's different. So this could be your proprietary process. You can create something like this in Canva really easily in less than an hour. This process is unique to you. You probably already have it, you just haven't documented it and named it something. This process separates you from all the other people that are out there who may not have the same process. So it makes you unique. And if they agree that this process can help them, then what they're also agreeing with is that you can help them, because now they see that it's almost impossible for them not to get results if they follow this proven process that you have. Next thing you need, and it's really 3 things. One is your story, right? So what makes you ordinary? What makes you extraordinary? And why do you do what you do? Next, you have to have your stand, where do you stand about the problem that they have, right? So if the problem they have is, that they don't get enough attention from their practitioners, that we have a medical system that only solves for symptoms and not the root cause, practitioners may not have enough time to spend to evaluate and investigate this. So what's the common enemy? And where do you stand? And does the client stand on the same side of the line as you? They have to know that. They have to know where you stand. You have to take a position. Next is your solution. What is your solution? It's kind of your process, but walk me through what that looks like. Walk me through what happens if I click on this button that you tell me to, what happens next, and what happens next, and what happens next. People don't like to waste their time, they don't like to be confused, and they don't like to feel anxious. So knowing what the individual steps are makes it so much easier for them to know that, okay, this is a predictable path that I'm going to go on versus just wandering aimlessly. So create a clear path for them so that they know what's next. And always give them clear next indications. Here's what you do, here's what you can expect, here's what's going to happen, and then here's what we do after that. So if you can do these things and have these things very clear before you start putting any of your slides together, you're going to have an awesome presentation. I know you've helped a lot of people and you're in the process of helping even more. It's great to have a framework to be able to share the case studies and stories of what it is that you do. Now, I also want to give you a bonus tip. So you might be wondering, Sachin, when do I introduce my program when I'm presenting something like this? Well, here's how you do that. Remember, when you're sharing a case study, you're sharing where that person started, where they are now, what they accomplished working with you, and what you did different. When you talk about what you did different, that's when you're introducing your program. So our program is called Living Light. So I might say that here's where this person started, here's where they are now. Through our unique process that we incorporate in our Living Light metabolic program, we were able to identify these deficiencies. These were areas that nobody was even looking at or investigating when it came to her health, and we were able to resolve these issues so that she could get to the bottom of her challenges, right? So, that gives you an example of how you want to structure your program into your actual presentation, and you do it in a very subtle way. So now what you're doing is you're raising and piquing that person's curiosity. They're saying, well, what's this program? Like, tell me more about this program. And later on, if you do decide to introduce your program, it's like, that's the program that he or she is talking about. So hope that helps. Hope that gives you some framework to work with and gives you some ideas and makes it easier for you to put your next amazing presentation that gets your point across to your audience. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.